Joint Committee on State Building Construction. We don't have everyone here, but we do have enough. So let's go ahead and get running. For those of you eating lunch, I think it would be an excellent time to thank the Kansas Contractors Association. Michael is here, but Stephanie did the work. So if you want to thank Michael, do it left-handed because Stephanie did all the work on this one. But first up today, we've got kind of a long list. So let's go ahead and get rolling with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. And Merle is here to get us up to speed.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Merle Riedel with Legislative Research Department. First, I'll review the Kansas Bureau of Investigation's Capital Improvement Report. This is on the gold sheet. You'll see page number 38, but the gold sheet is what you're looking for. The agency submits a revised estimate of 100,000 SGF for capital improvements in FY 2023. This is no change from the FY 23 approved amount. The agency does request that consideration be given to adding 869,000 SGF for a new Forensic Science Center facility maintenance account with the reappropriation authority. The proposed adjustment is not reflected in the requested amount. The Forensic Science Center bond was retired early in FY22. As a result, $869,000 from a principal and interest account held as security at the Security Bank of Kansas City will be transferred to the SGF. The agency notes this funding was originally intended for support of the Forensic Science Center, and the addition would provide initial resources for the maintenance of this technical facility that is anticipated to be substantial in the out years. Additionally, projects for FY 2023 include rehabilitation and repair. The agency estimates 100,000 SGF for routine rehabilitation and repair projects in FY 2023. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate for capital improvements in FY23. However, the governor does not recommend the addition of 869,000 SGF to a new Facility Science Center Maintenance Facility Fund. Moving on to FY 2024, the agency requests 1.2 million SGF for capital improvements in FY 24. This is an increase of 1.1 million. The increase is attributable to the agency's enhancement request for additional operational support, which includes increased expenditures for rehabilitation and repair at $200,000 and Great Bend Laboratory HVAC replacement at $910,000. Projects for FY 2024 include rehabilitation and repair. The agency requests 300,000 SGF for routine rehabilitation and repair. The increase is attributable to the addition of maintenance responsibilities for the Forensic Science Center, higher prices for maintenance for materials and services, as well as supply chain disruptions. The next project is the Great Bend Laboratory HVAC replacement. The agency requests 910,000 SGF to replace the HVAC system at the Great Bend Laboratory. The governor recommends 300,000 SGF for capital improvements in FY 2024. This is a decrease of 910,000 SGF below the agency's request. The governor does not recommend funding for the Great Bend Laboratory, but recommends federal ARPA funds be pursued. Mr. Chairman, that concludes KBI. I can stand for questions.
Committee questions for Merle regarding the KBI budget? I had a couple kind of come to my mind here. As we're looking through this, the rehab and repair expenses going from 100 to 300,000 seems pretty significant when we're adding just the one building, but then blaming it on supply chain disruptions. How does the math work out on that?
So part of it is an increase related to the inflationary effects on goods and services. Part of it is the addition of the Forensic Science Center. Though that is one building, that is a substantially large building which adds total facility owns 4 facilities, currently at 193,600 square feet. I'm fairly certain about 100,000 of that is related to the Forensic Science Center. So they're essentially doubling the amount of space that they're responsible for. And it's a fairly technical facility as well.
we go from 100,000 to 200,000 would make sense based on square footage. Are we then attributing 50% to inflation? That seems a little excessive.
I can't tell you the exact purpose for the increase of 200,000. I can only tell you the agency's kind of estimating. I think they would also say at 100,000 in previous years has not been adequate for the previous years.
Gotcha. All right. Committee, further questions? Seeing none, I guess we can, let's go ahead. I would entertain a motion of some sort for the KBI capital improvement budget. All right. Very good. All right. Moved. Okay, seconded by Representative Owsley. And we are good to go then. All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Very good. That will be the recommendation of the committee. Let's move on to the Kansas Highway Patrol. And I believe that's also you. Is that correct, Merle? All right, good.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to the Kansas Highway Patrol will be on the blue paper. The Kansas Highway Patrol is, looking at FY 2023 capital improvements. The agency submits a revised estimate of $2.9 million, all from special revenue funds for capital improvements in FY 2023. This is an increase of $1.7 million. The increase is primarily due to repairs of damages sustained at the training academy during a December 15, 2022 storm and implementation of a scale house replacement plan involving the first of 8 facilities to comply with Federal Highway Administration requirements. So looking at the projects for FY23, first we'll start with Troop J, which is the training academy, and this involves major projects. The agency requests $998,231, all from special revenue funds for the following projects, which includes replacement of the auditorium roof and repair of interior water damage resulting from that December 2022 storm, modernization of the administration building elevator, and the final phase of flooring replacement at the administrative building. Next project is also Troop J Training Academy, but this was our projects less than $50,000. Agency requests $96,365, all from special revenue funds for projects that include Wi-Fi installation at the administration building and dormitories, and installation of flooring and replacement of heated glass panel in the cafeteria. Moving on to the next page, the next project is Troop Facility.
Merle, if we could hold on for just 1 second, the Senator has a question for you.
J is the training academy in Salina. So the old Marymount Academy, I believe. Looking on the blue sheet on the second page, page 31, top of the page, Troop Facility Major Projects. Agency requests $565,265, all from special revenue funds for the repair of the Troop C in Salina, repair of the elevator at Troop C in Salina due to a failed load test. Next project is Troop Facility Maintenance and Repair projects less than $50,000. Agency requests $46,122, all from special revenue funds, to upgrade the front gate at the Fleet Storage Facility, which is in Topeka, and add security cameras to Troop A headquarters in Olathe. Finally, Troop I, Scale Repair and Replacement. The agency requests $1.1 million, all from special revenue funds for Scale House Repair and Replacement, a 2008 review, recommended replacement of 8 motor carrier inspection stations, including scale houses, to comply with federal requirements. For FY23, the agency will replace the North Olathe station. Projects also include other scale replacements and routine maintenance of those scales. The governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate for capital improvements in FY23. Moving on to 2024 capital improvements, the agency requests $2.8 million, all from special revenue funds for capital improvements in 24. This is a decrease of $57,234. Decrease is primarily for troop facility major projects, which is partially offset by increased expenditure for major projects at the training academy and continuation of the scale house replacement plan. For Troop J, the Training Academy major projects, agency requests $1.1 million for the following three projects: replacement of a deteriorating concrete cap over the lower plant, installation of energy efficient windows, and replacement of stairs. Troop J, the Training Academy, maintenance and repair. So these are projects less than $50,000. The agency requests $200,365, all from special revenue funds for projects that include continuing the Wi-Fi installation and hardware upgrades for the administrative buildings and dormitories. Other projects in FY24 include replacement of gym lighting and installation of a loading dock. Troop facility major projects less than $50,000. The agency requests $298,885, all from special revenue funds for exterior painting of the fleet storage facility in Topeka and the installation of energy efficient LED lighting at Troop C in Salina. Troop facility maintenance and repair projects less than $50,000. Agency requests $23,460, all from special revenue funds to install energy efficient LED lighting at Central Dispatch Office housed in Troop C in Salina. Finally, the Troop I scale house repair and replacement. The agency requests $1.1 million, all from special revenue for scale house repair and replacement. For FY24, the agency will replace the Olathe South Station. The governor concurs with the agency's request for capital improvements in FY 2024. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the Highway Patrol. I can stand for questions.
All right, committee, any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We were talking about Troop G, various things. Is that just the training academy? Because you jumped over to Troop C as in Charlie, and it's still in Salina, so they have multiple ones.
Correct. Troop J is the training academy located in Salina. Troop C is the Highway Patrol Trooper group co-located at Troop J. So there is the entity that runs the training academy, and then there is the entity that provides law enforcement on the highway located at that training academy.
Is there any, if I may, is there any reason to have any of these funds? Are they jointly paid for if they're sharing the exact same facilities, or do you have certain expenses allocated to C and others allocated to J?
Correct. So the funds that would be allocated to J are repair of those facilities utilized by the training academy staff.
So they are physically separated at that same facility, though.
I do believe that they are housed in different buildings at those facilities, but the funds requested for Troop J are essentially just supporting the operations for the training academy staff and the offices that they house. And then the Troop C is, while located on the funding is allocated just for those offices of that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions? One just kind of in passing here regarding the South Olathe Station scale house replacement. Is there any plans for a relocation of that scale house, or is it in the same location?
It's my understanding that is a replacement in the same location. So I'm not aware that there are plans to relocate those scale houses. I could find out if the agency, if that is part of the improvement plan.
Open to discussion, perhaps. The reason I ask is because it's between two exits, and it's very easy to dodge the scale house by driving directly through my town. So, which we all love. All right, further questions, committee? Then I would entertain a motion regarding the Kansas Highway Patrol. Representative Francisco makes the motion. All right, second. Representative Delperdang, whose name I forgot all of a sudden, has seconded. All those in favor say aye. And opposed, nay. All right, that will be the report. All right, let's move on then. And Merle, I don't think you're out of the hot seat yet, are you?
Here to help.
Let's move on to the Adjutant General's department then.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Next, we'll look at the Adjutant General's Department, and you can see that on the green colored sheet. FY 2023 capital improvements, the agency submits a revised estimate of $39.3 million, including $23.5 million SGF for capital improvements in FY 2023. This is an all funds increase of $7.7 million, including an SGF increase of $1.9 million above FY 2023. The SGF increase is primarily attributed to design work for a proposed state defense building remodel. The all funds increase is attributable to increased expenditures, all from federal funds, for the initial phase of constructing a new Joint Forces headquarters in Topeka and remodel of a field maintenance shop at the Great Bend Armory. Going on to the next page, we'll go into detail on the projects for FY23. First is rehabilitation and repair. The revised estimate includes $1 million SGF for routine rehabilitation and repair among 38 armories and other National Guard facilities. The agency notes that a cooperative agreement with the Federal National Guard Bureau generally provides 50% matching rate with federal funds. The next item is deferred maintenance. The revised estimate includes $2.7 million SGF for renovation and modernization of 38 armories and other National Guard facilities, and the same cooperative agreement applies to deferred maintenance. You can see for FY23, deferred maintenance projects are scheduled for Great Bend, Hiawatha, Holton, Hutchinson, and Smith Center. Next project is a new Hayes Armory. The revised estimate includes $18.1 million SGF for a new National Guard armory in Hayes. The expenditure includes a land purchase with site improvements of $2.1 million and the construction of a 49,792 square foot National Guard Readiness Center at $16 million. The agency notes that the current armory is over 60 years old, located in a floodplain, and lacks adequate capacity for training and maintenance of modern vehicles. This project was approved by the 2022 legislature. Moving on, the next project is the State Defense Building remodel. A revised estimate includes $1.6 million SGF for design work for a proposed remodel of the State Defense Building, which houses the Kansas Division of Emergency Management and the State Emergency Operations Center. Agency indicates the current configuration is inadequate and lacks the following: sufficient space for the State Emergency Operations Center, including sleeping and eating amenities for 24-hour operations during periods of activation; technology improvements sufficient to meet emerging threats; media briefing facilities and secure space for planning; and office space to support KDEM day-to-day operations. The remodel of the existing state defense building structure, as opposed to reconstruction at an offsite location, is preferred due to the facility's location within a secure perimeter at 2800 Southwest Topeka Boulevard. Next, you'll see federal match. This is the federal match that we referenced earlier for the deferred maintenance and rehabilitation and repair projects. The revised estimate includes $3.9 million, all from federal funds, provided through the National Guard Bureau for the rehabilitation, repair, and deferred maintenance projects. Next is the Joint Forces headquarters construction. The revised estimate includes $8 million, all from federal funds, for the initial phase and construction of a new 59,000 square foot Joint Forces headquarters on federal property at Forbes Field in Topeka. Total project cost is estimated at $16.5 million and to be completed in FY 2025 as part of the agency's request. So you will see expenditures in FY 24 as well. It's spread across multiple years as part of the agency's request. The Great Bend FMS, or Field Maintenance Shop, the revised estimate includes $3 million, all from federal funds, for the initial phase in remodeling a field maintenance shop at the Great Bend Armory. Project includes construction of a maintenance bay addition and alteration of existing bays that previously stored mobile radar systems. The shop will provide regional maintenance services for 115 military vehicles assigned to units in western Kansas. The total project cost is estimated at $6 million, with completion in FY 2024. Next item is the Smoky Hill Range Fire Truck Storage Building. The revised estimate includes $900,000, all from federal funds, to construct a steel frame insulated building, the Smoky Hill Range Complex in Salina, for storing 5 fire response vehicles. The agency notes those vehicles are currently stored off-site, so co-locating them on the range would facilitate response.
One moment, Merle, if you could answer, what does off-site mean for a fire truck? Where are they parked?
So the current trucks, I can't tell you exactly where they're parked, but they are not stored or parked at the Smoky Hill Range currently.
Interesting. All right, thank you.
The governor recommends $48.9 million, including $23.5 million SGF for capital improvements in FY 2023. The increase of 9.6 million. This is an increase of 9.6 million, all from federal funds above the agency's revised estimate. The recommendation includes 17.6 million, all from federal funds, for construction of the Joint Forces headquarters, which is an increase of 9.6 million. This adjustment would encumber funds for the entire project in FY 23, which results in a decrease of 8 million for FY 24. Mr. Chairman, that concludes 23.
Yes, Senator McGinn, Representative McGinn.
Yeah, you already called her representative.
Did I? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So at one time, I thought that we were looking at our armories a little differently because I don't know, are they full use all the time? And I thought we were on a path to maybe decrease them. I assume this new Hayes one is a new one replacing one, not adding another one. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, yes, Senator, this would replace the current armory in Hayes. So this is the current armory has difficulty storing and providing maintenance in the facility for current vehicles. The current armory is located in a floodplain, so reconstructing on site so they would no longer be utilizing that facility and are building a new one to replace it.
So I'm just looking at the whole overall. It seems like we're building up, like we're getting ready for a war here in Kansas. But my question is, armories are probably pretty sacred to some of these small communities, and are they being used 100%? You know,
So
or whatever.
correct. So I think the best way I can answer that is I think within the last 15 to 20 years, there was a larger amount of armories there was a larger amount of armories occupied by the Adjutant General's Department and their staff. Those have decreased by approximately 10 armories over the last 10 years. So it's my understanding that's continually evaluated whether those armories are needed or not, and they have liquidated some of those armories or turned those back over to the community. So the current count is 38. This is not adding to that count. And as far as I understand, all of those facilities are manned and operated. Shouldn't say manned, I should say occupied and operated. And so, but I think that they do continually assess.
So I do recall that now, and that was one of my suggestions. If they're not really being used, then sell it to the community if they want it, for a community center or whatever. So I'm glad to hear we're not increasing, we're decreasing still.
Yeah, it's same levels. It remains at 38, and they have returned several armories to their, I shouldn't say returned, but transferred armories to communities within the last 10 years.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative Delperdang. He really is a representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think you really are the chair, aren't you?
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. I'm just trying to jump in here. What is the total increase in funding that we are looking at specifically for this overall request? I mean, you've gone through the little components of it. What is the total amount?
Are you referencing FY23 or FY24 or
23 that we just went through 23, right?
correct? So the increase would be for 23. That's an increase. The agency requested 39.3 million. The governor's recommending 48.9 million.
So you're saying it's a actual decrease from the governor recommendation then?
No, the governor's recommending an increase. Governor recommends 48.9 million, so that's an increase of 9.6 million above the agency's request.
And how much of that is going to be federal funds coming in?
That 9.6 is entirely federal funds.
That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
All right, Representative Alcala.
Thank you. So I see the new Joint Force Headquarters is going to be, we're going to build a new facility, and that's Forbes location. Is that what you were saying?
Mr. Chairman, yes, sir.
So what happens to the facility at the 2100 block of Southwest Topeka Boulevard? Isn't that also the Joint Defense Forces Headquarters?
Correct. So the Joint Forces Headquarters, or the Adjutant General and his staff, was currently located at the State Defense Building. They have now vacated that and would move to the new Joint Forces Headquarters. And what they're proposing is to remodel that State Defense Building so that it is better suited to the occupants currently there, which includes KDEM, Division of Emergency Management, and the State Emergency Operations Center.
So that's the $2 million investment for the upgrade of the one on Topeka Boulevard, correct?
That's 1.6 million in 23 for redesign of the remodel of the State Defense Building at 2800 Southwest Topeka Boulevard. You'll see in 24 there's a request of 22 million to actually do the remodel of the facility.
So is that facility being negotiated to be sold?
The State Defense Building would not be sold. It would be maintained by the Adjutant General and would be remodeled so that it could house the Division of Emergency Management and the State Emergency Operations Center.
The reason I asked that question is because I did hear some scuttlebutt that maybe law enforcement will be looking at buying that facility combined with the Sheriff's Department in Shawnee County, so that's not the case.
I have not heard that discussion.
Thank you.
That was really just a rumor I started. Yeah, it had nothing to do. All right. Yes, Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering, do any of these expenditures increase our military value when they're evaluating anything in the state of Kansas as far as getting so many federal funds? Does this make us better in the long range? Are we decreasing, I guess is what I'm trying to look at when we compare to other states?
So I couldn't speak to the comparison to other states, but I can tell you that the National Guard Bureau and those at the federal level do assess and rate they assess the quality of the facilities and regularly inspect them. And so to have an assessment of what the readiness of the National Guard units in each state is. And so facilities that are in poor quality would rate lower than ones that are maintained adequately.
Sure. Because we have Fort Riley and I think Smoky Hill and all of those are right next to it. And I'm always concerned about decreasing funding to the state of Kansas compared to other facilities. Thank you for your update.
Right. Yes, Senator Francisco.
Um,
Just got a demotion since the last time I called on her.
Appreciated. So my understanding is the increase in the governor's recommendation is due to moving the 8 million for the headquarter construction from 24 to 23, hoping that it can be constructed earlier. So it's really not changing the number of dollars between the 2 years, but it is getting that construction funding available earlier.
Mr. Chairman, yes, Senator, that's essentially it. The agency's request included funding that project in half of it in 23, half of it in 24. The governor's recommending to encumber all of those funds in 24. They're all federal funds. The idea would be to essentially secure those funds in 24. I don't know that they will be able to completely build that structure in 1 year, but the intent is to encumber those funds in 1 year.
All right. Seeing no further questions, let's look at 2024.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, looking at FY24. So we again are on the green page. You'll see a page number at the bottom, 23. The agency requests 42.1 million, including 26.1 million SGF for capital improvements for FY 2024. This is an all funds increase of 2.7 million, including an SGF increase of 2.6 million above the FY 23 revised estimate. The increase is attributable to the agency's two enhancement requests that total $24.6 million. They include $2 million, including $1 million SGF for additional routine rehabilitation and repair of National Guard facilities, and $22.6 million all SGF for the construction phase of the State Defense Building remodel. Looking at the projects for FY24, we'll move down to rehabilitation and repair. The request includes $3.9 million SGF for routine rehabilitation and repair among those 38 armories and other National Guard facilities. This includes deferred maintenance for FY24, and projects scheduled for deferred maintenance include the Marysville Armory, Norton, Nickel Armory in Topeka, Concordia, Liberal, Lenexa, Pratt, and the Armed Forces Reserve Center in Topeka. Next project is the State Defense Building remodel. The request includes $22.6 million SGF for the construction phase of the State Defense Building remodel in Topeka. And again, that houses KDEM and the State Emergency Operations Center. That facility was built in 1978. Agency states the current configuration is inadequate. The remodel includes construction, partial demolition, acquisition and integration of technology, and emergency power generation. The agency does note that a request for federal funding from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act was submitted to the SPARK Task Force for remodel of the State Defense Building. At the time the budget was submitted, there was no determination on that, but the agency was notified on January 30th that the agency would receive federal ARPA funds of $22.6 million for the State Defense Building remodel. Next item is federal match. The request includes $4.9 million from federal funds, which is provided through the National Guard Bureau, and this is that federal match for the rehabilitation and repair and deferred maintenance. Joint Forces Headquarters construction. Again, this is back to the agency's initial request. The request included $8 million, all from federal funds to continue that construction of the Joint Forces Headquarters. The Great Bend Field Maintenance Shop, the request includes $3 million, all from federal funds for the final phase in remodeling the field maintenance shop at the Great Bend Armory. Moving on to the next page, the governor recommends $10.4 million, including $3 million SGF for capital improvements for FY 2024. This is an all funds decrease of $31.6 million, including an SGF decrease of $23.1 million below the FY24 requested amount. The recommendation includes a decrease of $8 million, all from federal funds for construction of the Joint Forces Headquarters. This is because the governor's recommending those funds all be encumbered in 23. The recommendation also includes a decrease of $22.6 million SGF due to the governor not recommending the remodel of the State Defense Building for 2024. The governor further recommends a modified enhancement request that provides $1 million for building maintenance, including $500,000 SGF for building maintenance, but splits those expenditures between rehab and repair and deferred maintenance. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my review for the Adjutant General. I'm happy to stand for questions for FY24.
All right, Merle, I'm under the assumption here that the notification of the ARPA award was not, had not taken place before the governor made her recommendation.
That's correct. The governor made her recommendation. Subsequent to that, the funding was awarded.
Okay. All right, so that funding is available, that $22.6 million is available then through federal funds for the SDB remodeling.
That is correct. That amount, that addition of $22.6 million would not be reflected in the numbers that you see before you. Correct.
Very good. All right. Committee, any questions? Okay, well, I think I'm going to take it upon myself to make the motion this time because I'm going to recommend the 23 and 24 budgets. However, with the amendment of adding back in the $22.6 million federal funds for the SDB remodel. And that is my motion. But no one seconds me, so. Seconded by Senator McGinn. All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a question that skated in just under the line. Senator Francisco.
Thank you. We need to indicate just that money
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can answer that. That is correct. That funding will happen because as part of statute, the governor can receive federal funds. These ARPA funds were appropriated to the governor's office. These particular funds had additional level of approval. The appropriations bill did carve out for federal funds. They had to be recommended by the Spark Task Force and had to be approved by the State Finance Council. Those entities reviewed those fundings and approved 94 million for state projects like this, which is then the agency then applied for these funds and was awarded those funds. So by statute and by the resolution from the State Finance Council, this funding would occur without being necessarily included in this budget. But there's nothing I would see. The revisers might feel differently, but I would see no issue with appropriating those funds for that purpose.
Well, then. Very good. And if I could certainly modify my motion to describe them as ARPA funds rather than generically federal funds.
I would appreciate that. I think it would help the Ways and Means Committee understand.
Sure. And I think it would help appropriations as well. I think that's a good idea. Is that all right with the second? All right, then. That is the motion. All those in, oh, yes, Jill. Yes, of course.
So the only thing that I would add to my other nod is when we do this in the bill, and there's several examples of this, we always put in the language of if they're unencumbered, if they're able to be used, and just to clarify that we are legally using those monies.
Right, that's pretty standard language.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I'm good with that, certainly. All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. And opposed, nay. Very good. That will be the recommendation. And Merle, I think you're out of here, man.
Mr. Chairman.
Nice work. All right, next up, we have the School for the Blind with Amanda, who's going to help us out.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to committee.
All right. I will try and go super quick with both of these. You're going to flip to the buff page, kind of a yellowy page, I think, for School of the Blind. The School of the Blind is located on a 11-acre campus in Olathe. The funding is primarily from the State Institutions Building Fund. In fiscal year 2023, the school submits a revised estimate of $1.6 million from SIBF. This is an increase of $102,000 and some change above the fiscal 2023 approved amount. The $100,000 of this is a supplemental request to cover inflation and be added to the base capital improvements budget in the future. The $2,200 was a shift from fiscal year 2022 to 23 because of timing with projects. The governor does concur with all of the fiscal year 2023 recommendations. In fiscal year 2024, the base capital improvements budget is $325,238. Thus, the agency is requesting enhancements of $2.4 million, all from SIBF, part of their 5-year capital improvements plan. That plan in particular, it's divided into 4 categories. I'm happy to go through it if the committee is interested in hearing on the specific projects. I know a lot of this was covered over the summer, so it's up to you, Chair.
These are the 4 that are listed here: safety, security, and HVAC, and so forth.
Correct. That is how the school classifies them.
Very good.
I should add, I didn't mention it, we do have John Martello on the line as well. He's the Chief Operations Officer for both schools.
All right. Now, maybe I'm incorrect. I thought I heard you say 2.4 million. My sheet says 2.7. Is there a change or?
Oh, nope, that was me misspeaking.
Okay, okay. Certainly, certainly understand that, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, committee questions. And I would entertain a motion to pass this out as per the governor's rec. Yes, Senator Francisco.
So move.
Seconded by Senator Reddy. And all those in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Very good. We are on to the School for the Deaf.
And John, if you are in the line, which I'm assuming you are, I will definitely send this your way after I finish Def if the committee has any specific questions for you. Kansas School for the Blind is located on a 10-acre campus in downtown Kansas City. Did I do those backwards? I did do those backwards. You guys should have stopped me. So the first one we did, that's why my numbers didn't match. It's because I was going too fast. That's what it was. I thought I just misspoke. So the buff one, everything that I just read is for School of the Blind, which goes with the buff sheet. Did I say that right? No, I said that backwards. I'm a mess. Hold on a sec. Just thanks. That works. I know it. I should have went with Shirley and kept them the same. She likes to color code. All right. It's because I use. All right. Let me see what happened here. All right. Everything that I just read out loud was for School of the Deaf, which was on the pink sheet. My apologies. That's why those numbers are wonky. School for the Blind is very similar. Would you like me to go ahead and read through that? Absolutely. It's on a 10-acre campus in downtown Kansas City. It's just northwest of Memorial Hall. Little interesting factoid, 156 years ago, the Kansas Legislature made their first appropriation. Any guesses on how much money that was to erect the first building? Give me a ballpark guess.
I'm going to guess $5,000.
Twice that, $10,000. So very close, very close. In fiscal year 2023, the school is requesting a revised estimate of expenditures totaling 1.5 million, almost 1.5 million, which you can see in column 2. Included in this is the school's request to add an additional 219,000 above the amount previously approved. 100,000 of this will be added to the base budget, as I mentioned. The rest of this is a supplemental request for fiscal year 2023, allocating money to address the increase in expenditures while replacing some HVAC equipment on the current remodeling of the secure breezeway that connects classrooms, dining halls, and a resident hall. In 2024, the agency is requesting a capital improvements budget of 2.7 million. Their base amount from SIBF is much lower than that, and so naturally it's all in enhancements. And again, I can go through those. They're kind of listed out in front of you on the correct page. If you don't have any specific questions for me, I know John is on the line. I don't know if you'd like for him to say anything.
He has something to add to the testimony. I don't have any problem with that.
John, can you hear us? Are you on the line?
Yes, I am. I have nothing to add except for that we can concur with all the proposals before you.
All right, very good. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be.
All right, committee, I would entertain a motion. All right, John Alcala, Representative Alcala makes the motion to concur with the governor's rec and the agency rec. Do I have a second? No, nobody. Okay, here we go. Senator McGinn has seconded. All those in favor say aye. And opposed, nay. All right, very good. Let's move on to the Kansas Aging and Disability Services. And for this one, we have none other than Dayton LaMunyan.
Yes, that's correct.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm here to discuss the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services. One thing I'll note before I begin, all of the capital improvements for the 4 state hospitals go through KDADS and are distributed to the state hospitals. You can see a description of each of the state hospitals at the beginning of the Lilac page. Skipping down to the bottom, for fiscal year 2023, the agency requests $27.5 million, all from the state institutions building fund in fiscal year 2023. These projects include all of the Priority 1 and Priority 2 projects in the fiscal year 2023 5-year capital improvement plan. Some of the items include enhancing security at Larned State Hospital, repairing and extending fences, updating fire alarms and video monitoring systems, and installing duress systems. Additionally, the funds are utilized for the Biddle Building remodel project and to raise buildings on the Osawatomie and Parsons State Hospital campuses. And the governor does concur with the agency's revised estimate. Happy to stand for questions on 23 or continue on to 24.
Right, committee, do we have any questions so far? I don't think so. Let's run on to 24.
All right, fiscal year 2024 on the second page. The agency requests $11.5 million, all from the State Institutions Building Fund for fiscal year 2024. These projects include 4 enhancement requests, which are discussed above in the BA, which you all do not have yet. But there is a description here on this page. $2.8 million of the SIBF funds are for renovation projects on the Osawatomie campus. Of the total, $9 million would be used to remodel the Cottonwood Resource Center, including ceiling, new windows, ADA compliant modifications, a new HVAC system, restroom upgrades, and repairing moisture damaged walls. The remainder of that $2.8 million would be used to remodel the special services building and the office area in the MICO house reintegration facility. Next, $556,800 would be used to raise abandoned buildings on the Osawatomie and Parsons campuses. The fiscal year 2023 budget does include money to demolish 3 of the buildings. The money they're requesting would allow them to demolish the remaining 4 buildings, or the next 4 buildings. Next, they're requesting $4.6 million SIBF. This would fund the second priority rehab and repair projects, which are included in the 5-year capital improvement plan. And I do have a description of how much that would be for each of the state hospitals. The governor recommends expenditures of $3.2 million SIBF, so none of these enhancement requests. That $3.2 million would fund the Priority 1 rehab and repair projects. And I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Yes, Senator McGinn.
On the Cottonwood Resource Center, we have not been using it. I mean, it looks like it's in pretty bad repair.
I'm not sure on the active status. We do have Scott Bruner from the agency who might have a comment.
Scott, why don't you come up and talk to us for a little bit? I'm trying to figure out exactly what we're trying to do here. Is this not been functioning, this building?
Part of it is there's a staff gymnasium workout area that's in one part of the building that's a little in better shape than the other part. The concept was to, as we expand the number of patients that we have and remodel treatment units, there's less space on each unit to do therapy and groups and other kinds of activities. So this was a building that's in the center part of the campus, kind of close to Biddle, close to the other treatment units. It's in relatively serviceable shape compared to other buildings. So we thought we'd work on renovating it to be a group space, activity space, do other kind of treatment oriented activities more than just use it as a staff exercise area.
So that was all it has been used for some time then?
Yes. At one point it was the patient library was in that building and that was moved out, but right now it's just used as a staff workout area with some equipment in there for that.
When you come in on Monday or whenever it is, would you bring me a picture of this?
Yes.
The campus there, so I can get reacquainted with where they're at.
Sure. Yeah, glad to do that.
Thank you.
Certainly. I'm gonna just, no, you're fine. Thanks, Scott. Mr. Lemunion, want to just clarify here, the 3.2 million recommended by the governor doesn't include any of these three that are listed specifically, the 2.8, the 500,000 and the 4.6?
That is correct.
Okay. What does the 3.2 include? I'm missing.
I thought you might ask. They include a number of projects, and they range from small amounts to large amounts across the state hospitals. It includes replacing a chiller on Larned State Hospital in the Isaac building, replacing a burner on a boiler in the main power plant building, items like that.
Just basic rehab.
Yes, exactly.
So we don't have plans for the raising of, I will have to say that it's a shame to have to tear down some of the buildings at Osawatomie State Hospital because they are beautiful. I grew up not far from there. They're beautiful buildings, but I understand they're basically built out of asbestos. So it kind of makes sense. But that is a shame. But we don't have plans for removing any of these buildings.
The additional funds would be used to accelerate the process of raising the buildings. So she recommended they not accelerate that process. It remains in the 5-year plan.
Okay. Okay. That gives me a little bit more comfort. Yeah. Oh, so you're trying to tear them down. They're not. I understand. You're right. Senator Francisco.
Thank you. I always have concerns when we're not maintaining roofs. And so I would note that $1 million of the 4.6 million for the second priority was that roof at Larned State Hospital. So are we comfortable that we can delay that for another year?
I'm not sure of the status of the roof. Do you have a comment, Scott? I can say it does remain in the plan, as you noted. It would be moved into 2025.
And so my question for the agency, are they comfortable that, because this isn't talking about a roof replacement, this is talking about maintenance. You're comfortable, we'll be fine for, okay, thank you.
The agency stated they are comfortable with that.
All right, committee for the questions. Oh, wait, Representative Delperdang, you had raised your hand. Yes, you had.
Thank you for being here. Just curiosity to understand, Osawatomie State Hospital, did that house inmates when it was in operation?
Osawatomie State Hospital does remain in operation. It houses voluntary commitments for patients with mental illness.
Okay, so there's a new facility down at Winfield Correctional, which again, I understand it's correctional side, but it's the new facility that I thought was for aging inmates. Does any of that cross into here under Department of Aging and Disability, or is it all fall under Department of Corrections?
So that facility would be under Department of Corrections. Larned State Hospital does have a state security program, and they do competency evaluations there. There is some overlap there, but I wouldn't want to speak about the Department of Corrections. That is definitely outside of my wheelhouse.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to understand. Thank you.
All right, committee, any further questions? Seeing none, then. Is there? Very good. Carry on.
So this would be another agency. So we can move on to the next page, which is the State Institutions for Mental Health, which is a separate budget than KDAD's. Although the KDAD's budget does include expenditures for these institutions, they have a small amount of expenditures for.
All right, one moment. Senator Reddy.
Mr. Chairman, did we vote on the previous one or did we?
No, I think this is all being kind of smeared together.
Okay, the purple and the beige. Purple and this is the second part of purple. Oh, okay, sorry about that. I moved on to beige.
I would like us all to stop making references to colors. By the way,
Thank you.
can't see those things anyway, so.
All right, so on the final page that is labeled the State Institutions of Mental Health, you can see at the bottom the agency estimates revised expenditures of $9,315 for capital improvement expenditures. These are for small projects to improve the hospital. The majority of those expenditures, as I noted, are in the KDAD's budget. And the governor does concur with the revised estimate. So I'll stand for any further questions.
Seeing none, do we have a motion regarding the Kansas, the KDAD's budgets? Nah? All right, we're just gonna leave it. I will make the motion to pass it out as per the governor's rec. Do I have a second? Second by Senator Reddy. The only one left awake in the committee right now. Thank you. I appreciate that. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. Very good. Well, let's move on to the Kansas State Fair. And we have a guy who grew up in a fantastic town, Luke, coming to help us out here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Luke Drury, a fiscal analyst with Legislative Research. And we'll start off with the Kansas State Fair, which is the tan page, or the bottom left-hand corner does say State Fair. For FY 2023, the agency estimates revised capital improvement expenditures of $15.2 million, which includes $14.5 from the SGF. This is an all funds decrease of $8,000, less than 1%. I will note that the general fund amount is equal to the agency's approved amount. Included in those amounts are $136.5 in the table above for ongoing maintenance, normal rehab and repair. Road resurfacing. If you all ever been to the State Fair, many roads on those grounds, the agency does include $2.5 million to do redo a lot of those roads, asphalt, renovations to the expo center, the grandstands repair, $500,000 for air conditioning units, or a couple different buildings at the State Fair that do not have air conditioning units. The agency requested to put those in. In addition to that, $1 million for public address system. It was noted that the agency doesn't have a way currently to let patrons of the fair, let them know that there's extreme weather events, et cetera, to take cover. They request $1 million to add that. A new storage building for $300,000, and then the Bison Arena totaling $10 million. Currently, that arena is being used for storage because it is not up to code. So the agency does request $10 million to bring that to rehabilitate the Bison Arena. And those projects were approved by the 2022 legislature. And Mr. Chair, if there are any questions on 2023, or I can move on to 2024.
As a matter of fact, I do have one. Seems to me that we approved funding for the Bison Arena maybe several times over the last couple of years. What's the status on this? How long? What kind of a renovation project is this that we fund it every year?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The funding for these projects were approved during the 2022 legislature. The agency does indicate that the Bison Arena will be updated in 2023. As you can see by the table, those expenditures are not carrying forward into 2024. So it is the expectation, the estimation that will be completed in 2023.
$5 million that we approved when Representative Dove was chairing that committee, and that was years ago, because I kind of climbed on him on that one, by the way. Making it a budget item, not a proviso. Little tip there for those playing at home, but I'd like a little bit more information on that. Like I said, we funded that quite a while ago, and in fact, as a budget item, it stayed $5 million every year since then, included in their budget, because it was not a one-year item. So I'm really curious about how the numbers work out on that one.
So, Mr. Chair, if I'm understanding correctly, let me take a look at historical funding, specifically for the Bison Arena renovations and when that started and when it ended, or just some historical data on that.
Start as the case may be.
Sure. I'll dig into that and I'll get back with the committee.
Excellent. Thank you. Senator McGinn.
Yeah, I'd like to just know where they're at on planning, but they did have Zoom or in-person input with the community to decide how they're going to do their remodel and use what they're going to use it for. But I think I agree with you. We need more information.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we pass over this item and bring it up again the next time we meet?
I think that sounds fabulous. We're going to meet Tuesday, so by golly, give us lots of time. Monday. Is it Monday? Yeah, okay, we'll meet Monday. That's fine. I thought it was Tuesday. All right. Any further questions, committee, before we pass over the state fair? All right, very good. Well, let's move on then, just for fun, to the Department of Wildlife and Parks. And
Certainly.
I think that's still you, Luke.
That is still me, and now we'll be on the, I believe we call it salmon. But again, it says Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks in the bottom left-hand corner there for you. This front page, main page here is just all of the figures for the different types of capital projects that the agencies use, or excuse me, that they have. But I'll actually begin on the next page, which for this particular one is page number 31. Agency estimates revised capital improvement expenditures of $17 million, which is all from special revenue funds in FY 2023, and the request matches the agency's approved amount. For 2024, the agency requests expenditures of $22.4 million, and that again is all from special revenue funds. It's an increase of $5.4 million. The increase is primarily attributable for fish and wildlife, wetlands development, motorboat access, and shooting range development. And Mr. Chair, if you would like, I can touch on all the different projects, descriptions of what Wildlife and Parks does for capital improvements. Otherwise, I can stand for questions.
I think we have a list of these. The dam maintenance is one that I'm kind of catching my eye. Just one second. Let me read through this. $1 million for 24, for 23, 625 for 24.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, yes,
for,
please.
For 2023, the governor does concur with the agency's capital improvements. However, for 2024, the governor is recommending $25.9 million, which includes 3.1 from the general fund, and that is an increase of 3.5 million over the agency's request. And it's over for those particular requests, as you stated on that front page there, for the dam repair totaling 2.5 million from the general fund, and then in addition to that, part of the and then also the purchase of the Loveland wildlife areas.
Not finding Lovewell.
On the or excuse
There it is. I see it finally. Can you tell me a little bit more about that purchase?
Sure. If you turn over to, it'll be the last page, be 33. Again, Wildlife and Parks, bottom left corner. Up here at the top, purchase of the Loveland wildlife area. For 2024, the governor recommends $600,000 to allow the agency to purchase 268 acres on the west end of the Lovewell wildlife area. And then in addition to that as well, Parks and Trails included in the governor's recommendation is an additional $364,000 for Parks and Trails. And then the one-time dam repair is listed at $2.5 million, and that is indicated to be used for various dam repairs all across the state.
All right. Senator Billinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this purchase, do you know, I thought there was statute said anything over 160 acres had to be approved by the legislature. Is that not correct?
Mr. Chair, I can't speak to that. Perhaps the revisers.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand a bill has been introduced for the legislature to consider this, and I think this would just allow the money in the budget, but that couldn't be spent unless that bill is approved. And staff could probably confirm that.
So it's Senate Bill 105. And I was also, if I may comment on Senator Billinger's comment, yes, there is a statute that requires wildlife and parks to go through the legislature, purchase any land. And I think it's actually a smaller amount of that, but we'll look it up for you and get you that in the minutes. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd like to find out a little bit more, like who we're buying it from and appraised values. We're paying $2,200 an acre. Is that in keeping with the market for the area? Just a little curious about some of the finer points on there.
I'll look into that, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. But if it's in Senate Bill 105, we're going to be doing that homework anyway here pretty soon. So I appreciate it. Yes, Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If it is for the one-time dam repairs, anything that's one-time, is it coming out of the state general fund or is it ARPA funds? Would it be designated as ARPA funds if it was from ARPA funds?
Mr. Chair, for the governor's recommendation, the 2.5 is from general fund, and that is indicated to be one time. It may be useful to note as well that Wildlife and Parks is not typically an agency that receives state general fund. So this would be a one-time purchase per the governor's recommendation for FY 2024.
Okay, Senator McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What about the bill money that we've been talking about? The bipartisan infrastructure money that we're all supposed to be applying for. It seems like something like this would be a good project for that.
Mr. Chair, nothing in the that I saw from governor's recommendation or agency request included any federal funds from ARPA. There were some other agencies that I have budgets for that I've seen that with, but not for Wildlife and Parks.
Adam, would you please answer that question of how we can use that or not use it?
Wait one moment. Let me interject something real quick because he didn't want to hear this. Adam Prophet, welcome to committee. Go ahead.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. And thank you, Senator, for the question. Adam Prophet here as the Director of the Budget. So for this particular project, the dam repair, the governor is recommending $2.5 million of SGF. Your question is, can we use the $220 million of set aside that we're trying to get for the BIL, the bipartisan infrastructure law? I don't know if that's been discussed with the infrastructure hub. This particular project, I assume, is something that could potentially go through that committee or the hub, if you will. But this is a need that was identified by Wildlife and Parks with some of the state parks across the state that need the repair.
So I guess what I'm getting at is, and maybe we'll know more later, but Secretary Lorenz pushed really hard to help the smaller communities, counties, everybody across the state figure out how to apply for all this money and for their infrastructure. And I'm wondering how we're doing that. I mean, not just through transportation or lead pipes and things like that through KDHE, but are we asking for it? Are we applying for it? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mr. Chair, if I may, yes, the short answer would be yes. The state is looking for any and all available federal resources that we can to apply towards these types of projects. Candidly, this one was an issue of timing, which is why it wasn't in the agency's submission to DOB. It came up a little bit later in the process. The governor received the information she felt necessary to make the decision to go ahead and put the $2.5 million in for the state parks to help with the dams. There are other projects that the water plan, for example, funds across each of the entities that receive water funding. And then obviously anything that we can do with the BIL money, we're going to go after that as well.
So would it come back as, you'd supplant, and would it come back and maybe next year's budget, you would say, oh, we didn't need this SGF because we got bill money?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I don't believe that's her recommendation would be to appropriate these funds and have Wildlife and Parks go ahead and move forward and get these dam projects completed.
Senator Billinger.
Thank you. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Hey, Adam, just quickly, it looks like from 2022 on the fish and wildlife maintenance, we've went from $2,095,000 to $6,215,000. And I know we had, some floods and, some of the docks were damaged and so forth. And I thought we took care of that, a lot of that in 23. But it seems like we really increased this budget in 2 years.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not tracking. Which page are you on?
On the first page, on the about the third line down, uh, fish and wildlife maintenance.
I honestly don't have the details in front of me to be able to speak to that. I'm happy to circle back with the agency and get information for you if you need that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Senator Francisco.
Mr. Chair, would this also be, if we have these open questions, a agency budget to skip over and look at on Monday? I would be interested in the agency's response to the fish and wildlife maintenance beyond what, it could be the flooding issues. It could be just people are buying more ammunition.
I am. So valid question. And you know, when we were just talking about the dam repair and SB 105, I was just going to forge ahead, but with this one also, I think that's valid to probably pass over this, and let's review that on Monday as well. You have that marked down, and I would like. Question, if we're going to look at it on Monday, I would like some information regarding that purchase as well, even though with a bill, we'll be doing that research, but if we're going to discuss it, I'd like to have that available to me.
Sure, and Mr. Chair, if I may, to be clear, get some more information on the fish and wildlife maintenance, what's going on with the increases specifically, more information regarding the purchase of the Loveland Wildlife Area, appraised value, et cetera, things of that nature. In addition to that, this one-time dam repairs, how many dams across the state, et cetera.
And also the likelihood of the infrastructure funding for that.
I will do that, Mr. Chair.
Beautiful. Oh, you have the statute number. Okay, fire away.
So I would like to apologize to Senator Billinger because he was correct. So please note that, and excuse me, but the statute, excuse me, is KSA 32833, and it is 160 acres. There is a small exception for something else, but it is generally 160 acres. So thank you.
Senator Billinger is always correct. So. No, we're not voting on that one. All right. All right, then with that, let's go ahead and skip forward to the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs. And Jennifer is going to be helping. There she is. There you go. Welcome to committee, Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm here today to speak about the Kansas Commission on Veterans Affairs. This is the gray sheet, or the next to last sheet in the packet. In fiscal year 2023, the agency requests $3.4 million, which includes $238,900 SGF. This is an all funds decrease of just under $190,000 and an SGF increase of just over $111,000. The SGF money is only for the Kansas Veterans Cemeteries. The Kansas Veterans Home, this is broken out into the Veterans Home, the Soldiers Home, and the cemeteries. So the Veterans Home is requesting $1.7 million for 3 projects and emergency rehab and repair funds. The projects include window replacement in Timmerman Hall, phase loss protection for the Holly Power Plant, and a covered walkway with lighting in Donlin Hall. The Kansas Soldiers Home requests $1.4 million for 2 projects and emergency rehab and repair funds. These projects are cottage painting and room conversion for the long-term care bariatric room. And then the Kansas Veterans Cemeteries are requesting the $238,900 in total. The governor's recommendation includes $4.3 million, which does cover the entirety of all of the requests from the agency. And then as well as that, there is an all funds increase of just under $850,000 SIBF funds. This is to pay for the architect fees for the new Northeast Kansas Veterans Home. Would you like me to stand for questions for 23 now, or just move forward?
I don't see any questions pending, so let's just keep on moving.
Sure. The agency for fiscal year 2024 requests $4.3 million, including $1.6 million SGF. This is an all funds increase of just under $850,000 and an SGF increase of 1.4 million. Again, it's broken into the three different groups. The Kansas Veterans Home includes 1.6 million for projects including installing new HVAC chillers and remodeling the dementia wing in the long-term care. The Kansas Soldiers Home is requesting 1.0 million for projects including upgrading the HVAC in Lincoln Hall and building a maintenance building and bus barn. And then the Kansas Veterans Cemetery is requesting 16.0 million for projects. These projects include a Fort Dodge columbarium wall, the Fort Dodge scattering garden wall, doors on committal shelters at both Fort Dodge and Wakini, and the building of a storage maintenance building and fence at Fort Dodge. All of the money in the agency's request would come from the SGF. In fiscal year 24, the governor recommends 19.5 million, including just over $200,000 SGF. This is an all funds increase of 15.2 million and an SGF decrease of 1.4 million. The governor's recommendations includes all of the projects for the Kansas Veterans Home and the Kansas Soldiers Home. The governor's recommendation only includes part of the ones for the cemeteries program. It does not include the columbarium wall, which was covered by a federal grant, so there is no longer a need for it because there's a federal grant for it. It also does not cover the scattering garden wall, which is just a place for bronze plaques that memorialize those that have had their ashes spread or have been announced as missing in action or presumed dead. The governor does move the money for the doors on the shelter committee homes and the storage maintenance building from SGF to SIBF funds. And there is a technical note that the storage maintenance building is actually, according to the governor's recommendation, is $192,000 instead of just under $20,000. Again, that was a technical correction between the agency and the governor's recommendation. Additionally, the governor recommends 16.4 million all SIBF funds to pay for the state's portion of the new Northeast Kansas Veterans Home. And with that, I'd stand for questions.
Nope. Questions at all? All right. All right. Motion made by Senator McGinn, second by Senator Francisco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Very good. That will be the report. You got off so easy. The last, man, that's just cheating. Okay, let's move on to the Kansas Department on Health and Environment and see how well we can handle this one.
Well, I believe it's come up before that the Kansas Department of Health and Environment is building a lab. The lab is housed in the budget of the environment versus the budget of KDHE Health. The agency submits a revised estimate in fiscal year 2023 of $32.5 million. That's all SGF for the building of the KDHE lab. The lab is being constructed in Lot 4 in downtown Topeka, and that's near the docking building. Design includes 3 above ground floors and a parking lot. The construction is estimated to take 24 months with an estimated completion date of December 2024. The total for the project is anticipated to be $65 million. The governor concurs with the agency's estimate for fiscal year 23 for capital improvements. For fiscal year 24, the agency requests $30.9 million, and that is all federal funds funded through ARPA. The governor concurs with the agency's request for fiscal year 24 as well. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
I mean, it's only 30 million. Do we have questions?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I make a motion to approve the Kansas Department of Health and Environment capital improvements.
All right, Senator McGinn made the motion. Senator Francisco seconded. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Very good. Committee, that is the extent of our efforts for today. As we've discussed a couple of times, we'll be meeting again on Monday, not Tuesday, Monday, at the same bat time, same bat location. So come prepared to revisit a couple of these, and then we'll have some more things on our plate while we're at it as